The sun was getting ready to set on another Saturday evening at Riverside Park. Most families had already packed up their picnic blankets and headed home for dinner. The playground that was full of laughter just an hour ago now sat almost empty, with only a few swings moving gently in the warm breeze. 8-year-old Lily walked slowly along the winding path, her small hand gripping the leash of her German shepherd Max. The big dog walked calmly beside her, his golden brown eyes scanning the area around them. To anyone watching, they looked like any other girl and her pet dog enjoying a peaceful evening walk. But Max was much more than just a regular family dog. 2 years ago, Lily's father had brought Max home with a big smile on his face. "Meet our new family member," he had said, kneeling down to pet the beautiful German shepherd. What Lily didn't know then was that Max had just retired from the police force. For 6 years, Max had worked alongside officers, helping them catch bad guys and keep people safe. A small injury to his back leg meant he couldn't do the hard physical work anymore, but his sharp mind and protective heart were still as strong as ever. Lily loved Max from the very first day. He was gentle with her, patient when she wanted to play dress-up with him, and always seemed to know when she needed a friend. Her father had taught her some whistle signals, telling her they were just fun games to play with Max. Little did she know, these weren't games at all. They were real police commands that Max had learned during his years of service. As they walked deeper into the park, Lily spotted her favorite place, a huge oak tree that had been growing there for probably 100 years. Its thick branches spread out like giant arms, creating a perfect shady spot underneath. She had been coming to this tree since she was tiny, and it always felt like a safe, magical place. "Come on, Max," she said cheerfully, tugging gently on his leash. "Let's go to our special tree." Max followed without any fuss, but something had changed in the way he was walking. His ears were more alert, turning slightly to catch sounds that Lily couldn't hear. His nose was working overtime, picking up scents in the air. Years of police training had taught him to always be aware of his surroundings, and right now, something didn't feel quite right. Lily sat down on the soft grass under the oak tree and pulled out the small silver whistle her father had given her for her last birthday. She put it to her lips and gave a short, sharp blow, one quick note. Max immediately sat down in front of her, his back straight and his eyes focused on her face. "Good boy," Lily giggled and clapped her hands. She blew the whistle again, this time 2 quick notes. Max stood up and moved to her right side, positioning himself so that he was between Lily and the open park area. To Lily, this was just their fun training game. To Max, he was following commands that had been drilled into him during hundreds of hours of police training. She tried another whistle pattern, 3 short notes followed by 1 long one. Max's response was immediate and precise. He moved into what police officers would recognize as a protective stance, his body alert and ready, his eyes scanning the area around them. But to 8-year-old Lily, he was just being the best trained dog in the world. The park was getting quieter as the sun sank lower in the sky. The last few joggers had passed by 10 minutes ago, and even the birds seemed to be settling down for the evening. It was the kind of peaceful moment that Lily loved, just her and Max in their special place with the whole world feeling calm and safe. But Max wasn't feeling calm at all. His incredible hearing had picked up the sound of motorcycle engines in the distance, and they seemed to be getting closer. His nose was telling him that strangers were nearby, strangers who didn't smell like the usual park visitors. There was something different about these people, something that made every instinct in his trained body go on high alert. 3 men on loud motorcycles had been riding around the edge of the park for the last 20 minutes. They called themselves bikers, but they weren't the kind who just enjoyed riding for fun. These 3 were always looking for easy ways to make money, and they didn't care if they had to scare people to get it. They had noticed that this park was usually pretty empty in the evenings and that sometimes people walked through here alone. When they spotted Lily sitting under the big oak tree with what looked like just a regular dog, they thought they had found the perfect target. A little girl by herself would be easy to frighten, and she might have some money or something valuable they could take. The dog looked big, but most family pets would run away if someone yelled at them loud enough. They were about to learn that Max was definitely not most family pets. As the sound of the motorcycles grew louder, Lily looked up from her whistle games. She could see 3 men on bikes riding slowly in their direction, and something about the way they were moving made her feel nervous. The bikes were loud and scary looking, and the men riding them didn't look friendly. Max stood up slowly, his entire body language changing in a way that Lily had never seen before. Gone was the playful, gentle dog she knew. In his place stood something that looked more like a soldier ready for battle. His ears were forward, his muscles were tense, and his eyes never left the approaching motorcycles. For the first time in her young life, Lily was about to see what her beloved pet dog could really do when the people he loved were in danger. And the 3 men riding toward them were about to get the biggest surprise of their lives. The 3 motorcycles roared louder as they got closer to the big oak tree. Lily could feel her heart beating faster in her chest. The men riding the bikes didn't look like the nice people who usually visited the park with their families. These men had mean looks on their faces, and their bikes were making so much noise that all the birds flew away from the nearby trees. The first man was big and had tattoos covering his arms. He wore a black leather jacket that looked old and worn out. His name was Jake, though Lily didn't know that. To her, he was just a scary stranger who was making her feel very uncomfortable. The second man was shorter but looked just as unfriendly. His bike had chains hanging from different parts, and they made a jingling sound as he rode. The third man had long dark hair and was wearing sunglasses even though the sun was almost setting. They rode their motorcycles in a circle around Lily and Max, going slowly but making as much noise as possible. The grass got kicked up by their tires and dust started flying everywhere. Lily had to cover her nose with her hand because the dust was making it hard to breathe. She moved closer to Max, hoping that being near her big dog would make her feel safer. Max stood perfectly still, but Lily could feel that something had changed about him. Usually, when strangers came near, Max would wag his tail and maybe walk over to say hello. But right now, he wasn't moving at all. His whole body seemed tense, like he was getting ready to do something important. His eyes were locked on the 3 men, watching every move they made. Finally, the motorcycles stopped and the 3 men turned off their engines. The sudden quiet felt almost scarier than all the noise had been. The biggest man, Jake, got off his bike first. He walked over to where Lily was standing, his heavy boots making loud sounds on the ground with each step. "Well, well, well," Jake said with a nasty smile. "What do we have here? A little girl all by herself in the park?" His voice was rough and mean, not like the voices of the adults Lily was used to talking to. "Where are your parents, little girl? Did they leave you here all alone?" Lily's voice came out smaller than she wanted it to. "My dad is coming to pick me up soon," she said, even though that wasn't exactly true. She had told her father she would walk home by herself when she was ready. Now she was wishing she had asked him to come get her instead. The second man, the one with all the chains on his bike, laughed in a way that didn't sound happy at all. "Oh, I bet Daddy is coming," he said, mockingly. "But he's not here right now, is he? And we don't see anyone else around either." The third man took off his sunglasses and looked around the empty park. "Nice and quiet here," he said. "Perfect place for a little chat." He looked down at Lily's small backpack and the tiny purse her mother had given her to carry her allowance. "Money. That's a pretty bag you have there, kid. And that purse looks new, too." Lily hugged her backpack tighter to her chest. Inside were her favorite coloring books, some crayons, and the sandwich her mom had packed for her snack. In her purse was $5, her allowance for the week that she was saving up to buy a new book. These things weren't valuable to anyone else, but they meant a lot to her. "I want you to hand over that bag and that purse," Jake said, holding out his big hand. "Right now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "No," Lily said, her voice shaking but getting a little stronger. "These are mine. You can't have them." She took a step backwards, moving even closer to Max. That's when the second man noticed Max for the first time. "Oh, look at that," he said, pointing at the German shepherd. "The little princess has a guard dog." He laughed again, but this time it sounded more nervous. Max was a big dog, and German shepherds had a reputation for being protective. But the third man wasn't worried at all. "That's just a family pet," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "Look at him, he's not even barking or growling. Probably never hurt a fly in his whole life." To prove his point, he kicked some dirt in Max's direction, trying to show that he wasn't afraid of the dog. What none of the three men realized was that Max's lack of barking and growling wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of his professional training. Police dogs don't waste energy on noise when they're evaluating a threat. They stay calm and focused, watching and waiting for the right moment to act. Max had sized up the situation the moment the motorcycles had started circling them. 3 adult males, acting aggressively toward his charge. No escape route immediately available. Threatening behavior escalating. In his mind, he was already calculating the best way to protect Lily if these men tried to hurt her. Jake was getting impatient. "Look, kid, we can do this the easy way or the hard way," he said, taking another step closer to Lily. "Just give us your stuff, and we'll leave you alone. But if you keep being difficult, things might get unpleasant." Lily looked up at the 3 men surrounding her and felt more scared than she had ever felt in her life. But when she looked down at Max, something about his calm, focused expression made her feel a tiny bit braver. Her father had always told her to trust Max completely no matter what happened. "I'm not giving you anything," she said, her voice getting stronger, "and my dog won't let you hurt me." The 3 men looked at each other and started laughing. "Your dog?" Jake said. "Honey, that's just a pet. He's probably never been in a fight in his whole life." They were about to find out just how wrong they were. As Jake reached out his hand toward Lily's arm, intending to grab her backpack by force, Max's entire world shifted into the high alert mode he remembered from his years of police work. The moment any of these men touched his little girl, they were going to discover that some family pets have a very different kind of background than they expected. The moment Jake's hand reached toward Lily's arm, everything changed in an instant. Max moved faster than anyone could have imagined possible. 1 second he was standing calmly beside Lily, and the next second he was in the air, launching himself directly at Jake with the speed and precision of a trained professional. Jake never saw it coming. The big man had been so focused on scaring Lily that he hadn't paid attention to the dog at all. Suddenly, 85 pounds of pure muscle and determination hit him square in the chest. Max's powerful jaws clamped down on Jake's arm. Not the arm reaching for Lily, but his other arm, the one he used to balance himself. Max knew exactly what he was doing. "What the heck?" Jake screamed, stumbling backward and trying to shake Max off. But Max held on tight, using his weight to pull Jake away from Lily. This wasn't the wild, crazy attack of an angry pet. This was the controlled, calculated response of a dog who had been trained to stop dangerous people. The other 2 men jumped back in shock. They had expected the dog to maybe bark or run away. They definitely hadn't expected him to move like some kind of 4-legged police officer. The second man, the one with the chain, stared with his mouth wide open. "That's not a normal dog," he shouted. Max's whole body language had transformed completely. Gone was the gentle family pet that Lily knew and loved. In his place was a working dog, focused and determined. His movements were smooth and controlled. He wasn't barking or making noise like most dogs would in a fight. Instead, he worked silently, like he had been taught during his years with the police force. Lily watched in amazement as her beloved Max became someone entirely different. She had never seen him move like this before. It was scary, but also incredible. Her father had always told her that Max was special, but she had never understood what that really meant until right now. Jake was still trying to get Max to let go of his arm, swinging around in circles and yelling. But Max held on firmly, his grip strong but not meant to cause serious harm. His police training had taught him to control situations, not to hurt people unless it was absolutely necessary. The third man, the one with the long hair, decided he needed to help his friend. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a heavy chain, thinking he could scare the dog away. "Get off him, you stupid mutt," he yelled, swinging the chain in the air. But Max had been trained to deal with people who had weapons. The moment he saw the chain, his tactical training kicked in even more. He released Jake's arm and smoothly moved to the side, avoiding the swinging chain completely. Then, in one fluid motion, he turned his attention to the new threat. The man, with the chain swung again, but Max was ready. He ducked low and then jumped forward, using his body weight to knock the man off balance. Down went the second man, landing hard on the grass with Max standing over him, making sure he couldn't get back up easily. Jake was holding his sore arm and looking at Max with new respect and fear. "That's a police dog," he said, his voice much quieter now. "That's a real, actual police dog. Look how he moves, look how he thinks." Lily suddenly remembered something her father had taught her. She reached for the whistle hanging around her neck and brought it to her lips. She blew a pattern she had practiced many times, 3 short blasts followed by 2 long ones. It was the signal her dad had called, "Guard and protect." Max heard the whistle and immediately understood. He moved into position between Lily and all 3 men, his body alert and ready. His years of training told him exactly what to do. Keep the threats away from the person he was protecting. Watch all of them at the same time. Be ready to act if any of them tried to get closer to Lily. The third man, the one who had been so confident before, was now backing away slowly. He looked at his 2 friends, one holding his sore arm, the other still on the ground, and realized they had made a terrible mistake. "We need to get out of here," he said nervously. But Max wasn't going to let them just leave. His training told him to keep dangerous people in one place until help arrived. He began moving in a pattern that pushed all 3 men closer together, making it impossible for any of them to run away or spread out. It was like watching a sheepdog work, except instead of herding sheep, Max was herding the 3 men who had tried to hurt Lily. Lily watched her dog work and felt a mixture of pride and amazement. This was her Max, her gentle companion who let her dress him up in silly costumes and who always shared her snacks. But this was also a side of him she had never seen, strong, smart, and completely in control of the situation. Jake looked around desperately, trying to find a way to escape. But everywhere he turned, Max was there, watching him with those intelligent brown eyes. The dog seemed to know exactly what each man was thinking before they even tried to move. "How are we supposed to know?" The second man complained, rubbing his back where he had hit the ground. "He looked like a regular family dog. Nobody told us he was some kind of super-trained police dog." "Well, now we know," Jake said grimly, still holding his arm. "And now we're stuck here with him until—" He didn't finish the sentence, but they all knew what he meant. Until the police came. Because a dog this well-trained didn't work alone. Somewhere there was a police officer who was probably looking for his partner. Max continued his professional patrol around the 3 men, keeping them grouped together while staying close enough to Lily to protect her. His training was telling him that help would come, and his job was to keep everyone safe until it arrived. Lily looked at her amazing dog and smiled, even though her heart was still beating fast from all the excitement. She was beginning to understand that Max wasn't just her pet. He was her guardian, her protector, and apparently a lot more experienced at dealing with bad guys than she had ever imagined. Lily stood watching Max work and felt something amazing happening inside her chest. The fear that had been making her hands shake was slowly being replaced by confidence. Her dog, her wonderful, incredible dog, had everything under control. She wasn't helpless anymore. She had the best protector in the world right beside her. Max continued moving around the 3 men in a careful pattern, never taking his eyes off them for even a second. His movements were so smooth and professional that it looked like a dance he had practiced 1,000 times, which, in a way, he had. During his 6 years with the police force, Max had done this exact same job countless times. Jake, the biggest of the 3 men, was still holding his sore arm and looking around desperately for a way to escape. But every time he took a step in any direction, Max was there, calmly but firmly blocking his path. The dog wasn't growling or showing his teeth. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to keep all 3 men exactly where he wanted them. "This is crazy," the second man whispered to his friends. "We came here thinking we'd scare some little kid, and instead we're being held prisoner by a dog. A really, really smart dog." Lily remembered more of the whistle signals her father had taught her. She had always thought they were just fun games, but now she was beginning to understand that they were much more important than that. She brought the whistle to her lips again and blew a different pattern. 2 long notes, then 3 short ones, then 1 more long note. Max heard the signal and immediately changed his behavior. This was the command for patrol and contain, and he knew exactly what it meant. He began moving in an even more organized pattern, walking around the 3 men in a way that kept them grouped tightly together, while making sure none of them could break away from the group. The 3rd man, the one with the long hair, tried to take a few steps toward his motorcycle. Maybe if he could get to his bike, he could start it up and drive away. But Max saw the movement immediately and smoothly intercepted him, moving between the man and his bike without any wasted motion. "Don't even think about it," Jake told his friend bitterly. "That dog sees everything. He's probably 3 steps ahead of whatever we're planning to do." Lily was amazed at how right Jake was. Max did seem to know what the men were thinking before they even moved. When one of them looked toward the path leading out of the park, Max would shift his position to block that direction. When another one glanced at the motorcycles, Max would move to cut off that escape route too. Watching her dog work like this made Lily feel proud and safe, but it also made her curious. How did Max know how to do all these things? Where had he learned to move like this? She made a mental note to ask her father a lot of questions when she got home. Then Lily remembered the most important thing her parents had taught her about staying safe. She reached into her small purse and pulled out the emergency cell phone they had insisted she carry everywhere. Her hands weren't shaking anymore as she flipped it open and dialed the 3 numbers every kid knows by heart. 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" came a calm, professional voice from the phone. "Hi," Lily said, her voice much steadier than it had been when the men first approached her. "I'm at Riverside Park by the big oak tree near the playground. 3 men on motorcycles tried to take my backpack and purse, but my dog stopped them. My dog is keeping them here, but I think you should send some police officers." "Are you hurt, honey?" the dispatcher asked with concern in her voice. "No, I'm okay. My dog protected me. He's really good at this," Lily said, watching Max continue his professional patrol around the 3 men. "I think he might have been a police dog before he became my pet." The dispatcher's voice became more alert. "Can you describe your dog for me?" "He's a German Shepherd, really big with brown and black fur. His name is Max. He's not barking or anything, but he's keeping the bad men in one place so they can't run away." There was a pause on the phone. Then the dispatcher spoke again with new understanding in her voice. "Honey, stay exactly where you are. I'm sending police officers to your location right now. And tell your dog he's doing a great job." Lily smiled at that. "Did you hear that, Max? The police lady says you're doing a great job." Max's ears flicked back toward Lily for just a moment, acknowledging that he had heard her. But his eyes never left the 3 men he was guarding. His training told him to stay focused on the threat until backup arrived. The sound of sirens began to drift through the evening air, still far away but getting closer. The 3 men heard it too, and their faces showed a mixture of resignation and disbelief. They had come to the park thinking they would have an easy time scaring a little girl, and instead they were about to be arrested thanks to a dog who was clearly much more than he appeared to be. "I can't believe this is happening," the 2nd man said, shaking his head. "We got outsmarted by a little kid and her dog." "That's not just any dog," Jake replied, watching Max's professional movements with grudging respect. "Look at him. He knows exactly what he's doing. Somebody trained him really, really well." Lily felt a warm feeling of pride wash over her as she listened to the men talk about Max. Her dog wasn't just brave. He was skilled and smart and amazing. She had always known Max was special, but now she was seeing just how special he really was. The sirens were getting louder now, and Lily could see flashing lights in the distance through the trees. Help was almost here. Max seemed to know it too, because his tail gave just the tiniest wag. Not enough to distract from his job, but enough to show that he was pleased with how everything was working out. The 3 men stood together in their tight group, watched over by a dog who had turned out to be far more than they had bargained for. None of them were talking now. They were all thinking about the same thing, how they had made the biggest mistake of their lives when they decided to bother a little girl who happened to have the most well-trained protector they had ever encountered. The police cars arrived at Riverside Park with their red and blue lights flashing brightly against the evening sky. Lily could hear car doors slamming and the sound of officers running across the grass toward the big oak tree. Her heart was still, beating fast, but now it was from excitement rather than fear. Detective Rodriguez was the first officer to reach them, and when he saw the scene under the oak tree, he stopped in his tracks, with amazement. There was little Lily, standing calmly, beside the tree with a huge smile on her face. In front of her, a beautiful German shepherd was maintaining perfect control over 3 grown men, who looked like they wanted to disappear into the ground. "Well, I'll be," Detective Rodriguez said quietly to his partner, Officer Chen, who had just caught up to him. "Look at that dog work. That's textbook canine containment if I've ever seen it." The detective approached slowly and carefully. He didn't want to disturb whatever Max was doing because it was clear that the dog had everything under perfect control. "Hello there, young lady," he said to Lily in a gentle voice. "I'm Detective Rodriguez. Are you okay?" "I'm fine now," Lily said brightly. "Max protected me. He's the best dog in the whole world." She looked down at Max with so much love and pride that it made the detective smile. Detective Rodriguez knelt down to get closer to Lily's level. "Can you tell me what happened here?" Lily took a deep breath and told the whole story. She explained how she had been playing with her whistle under the oak tree when the 3 men on motorcycles had surrounded her. She described how they had demanded her backpack and purse and how scared she had felt. Then her voice got excited as she told about how Max had suddenly become like a superhero, protecting her and keeping the bad men from running away. While Lily was telling her story, Detective Rodriguez was watching Max work. The dog's movements, his positioning, his calm but alert demeanor, everything about him screamed professional training. This wasn't just a brave family pet. This was a dog who had been trained by experts. Officer Chen was taking pictures of the scene and talking to the 3 men, who were still grouped together exactly where Max wanted them to be. Jake was holding his sore arm and looking embarrassed. The second man kept shaking his head like he couldn't believe what had happened to them. The third man just stared at Max with a mixture of fear and respect. "We didn't know," Jake told Officer Chen for the 3rd time. "We thought it was just a regular dog. If we had known he was some kind of police dog, we never would have bothered the kid." "Well, that's the point," Officer Chen replied as he wrote in his notebook. "You shouldn't have been bothering any kid, whether they had a trained dog or not." Detective Rodriguez was still talking to Lily, asking her about the whistle signal she had used. When she demonstrated the different patterns, his eyebrows went up with surprise. Those weren't made-up games. Those were real police commands, and Max had responded to every single one perfectly. "Lily," the detective said thoughtfully, "has your father ever told you anything special about Max? About where he came from before he became your family dog?" Lily tilted her head to think about it. "Daddy said Max used to have a really important job before he came to live with us. He said Max was a hero who helped keep people safe. But I thought, he just meant Max was really brave." Detective Rodriguez smiled and looked over at Max, who was still maintaining his professional watch over the 3 men. "I think your dad meant a lot more than that, sweetheart. I think Max used to be a police dog, just like the dogs we have at the police station." Lily's eyes went wide with excitement. "Really? Max was a real police dog? Like on TV?" "Better than on TV," Detective Rodriguez said. "Max is the real thing. Look how perfectly he's doing his job. He's keeping those men safe and secure. He protected you when you needed help, and he responded to police whistle commands like he's been doing it his whole life." Just then, another police car pulled up, and Lily's father jumped out before the car had even completely stopped. Detective Martinez had been at the police station when the call came in about his daughter, and he had driven to the park faster than he had ever driven anywhere in his life. "Lily," he called out as he ran toward the oak tree. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "Daddy." Lily ran to meet him and he swept her up in the biggest hug she had ever received. "I'm okay. Max saved me." He was amazing. Detective Martinez held his daughter tight and looked over her head at the scene behind her. Max was still on duty, still, professionally watching over the three men who had tried to hurt Lily. His former partner looked exactly like he had during their years of working together, calm, focused, and completely in control. "Max," Detective Martinez called softly. "Good boy, stand down." Max heard his former handler's voice and his whole body relaxed for the first time since the incident had started. His tail began to wag and he trotted over to Detective Martinez and Lily, finally allowing himself to be the family dog again instead of the working police officer. "You did good, partner," Detective Martinez said, kneeling down to scratch Max behind the ears. "You did real good." The other officers finished taking statements and arrested the three men, who were charged with attempted robbery and threatening a child. As they were being led away to the police cars, Jake looked back at Max one more time. "That dog should get a medal," he said to Officer Chen. "We learned our lesson the hard way, but at least nobody got seriously hurt. That's one special animal." Word about what had happened spread quickly through the police department and then to the local news. By the next morning, Max was being called a hero all over town. The local newspaper ran a story with the headline, "Retired Police Dog Saves Little Girl," and Max's picture was on the front page. Lily became something of a celebrity at school, where all her friends wanted to hear the story over and over again. But more than that, she had gained a new understanding of her beloved Max. He wasn't just her pet, he was her protector, her guardian, and a genuine hero. At home that evening, as Lily sat on the couch with Max's big head resting on her lap, she looked up at her father with curious eyes. "Daddy," she said, "Max was your partner before he became my dog, wasn't he?" Detective Martinez smiled and nodded. "He was the best partner I ever had, and now he's the best family dog we could ever ask for." Lily hugged Max tightly and whispered in his ear, "Thank you for keeping me safe, Max. You're my hero." Max's tail thumped against the couch, and Lily knew that no matter what happened, she would always be protected by the most amazing dog in the world.